Once upon a time, there was a brother and sister named Dean and Darla, and they were as close as a brother and sister could be. They did everything together, from building pillow forts in the living room to riding their bikes around the neighborhood, but their favorite thing to do was visit their school playground on the weekends when nobody else was around. One Saturday morning, as Dean and Darla raced each other to the playground, Darla shouted, "I'll beat you to the swings!" And then Dean picked up his pace. "No way, I'm faster!" And as they reached the playground, out of breath and laughing, the colorful structures stood silent and still, waiting for children to come and bring them to life. Dean headed straight for the tall, twisty slide, while Darla made her way to the monkey bars. As Dean reached the top of the slide, he felt a strange movement beneath his feet. "Hey, Darla," he called out. "Did you feel that?" Darla was hanging upside down from the monkey bars as she shook her head. Feel what?" Suddenly, the entire playground shuddered. The slide that Dean was on began to move, twisting and turning like a giant snake. Darla shrieked as the monkey bars started to sway and bend, raising her higher off the ground. "What's happening?" Dean yelled, clinging to the sides of the slide as it lifted him higher into the air. The merry-go-round began to spin on its own, and the seesaw bounced up and down without anyone on it. And the swings swung back and forth with their chains clanking against each other. Darla held on tightly as the monkey bars kept lifting her higher and higher off the ground. Her eyes were wide with fear. "Ah! Get me down from here!" But Dean had enough trouble of his own. The slide straightened out quickly as it tilted upward and sent him soaring through the air. He must have been flying at least 30 feet high as he looked down and saw the entire school and playground beneath him. He was screaming his head off because he was almost sure he was about to crash into the hard ground below, but instead, he found himself caught by the tire swing, which twirled around and held him like a giant outstretched hand. "Darla!" Dean called out, his heart racing as he watched her dangling high up in the air. "Hold on! Don't let go!" But Darla's hands were quickly getting tired, and she was starting to lose her grip. Her fingers were really starting to hurt as she felt herself starting to let go. There was nothing else she could do. And right as she let go of those monkey bars, she let out a scream as she started falling to the ground below. But after falling for only a second, one of the swings had swung right up to where she was, and it just caught her. And then she swung down and over to the other side as the swing tossed her onto the merry-go-round, where it began to twirl her around. And to her surprise, she didn't feel dizzy at all, and nothing even hurt. In fact, it felt like the funnest ride she had ever been on. And the playground equipment continued to move and shift, throwing Dean and Darla into the air and passing both kids between different parts of the playground like a game of catch. The slide became a roller coaster, and the swings launched them high into the sky, and the seesaw bounced them gently back and forth. Dean and Darla realized something incredible. They weren't playing with the playground was playing with them. "This is fun!" Darla laughed as she slid down the slide as it continued to change its shape. "It's like the whole playground is alive!" Dean yelled. For hours, Dean and Darla played with their new magical friend. The playground created obstacle courses, and it invented new games, and it even formed a giant bounce house out of the rubber matting on the ground. And before they knew it, the sun was beginning to set. They were having so much fun, they didn't even realize the whole day had passed them by. Dean said, "Hey, Darla, we gotta get home. Mom and Dad are gonna wonder where we are." And without another word, the playground just set the children down and returned to its original form. And it looked as though nothing had even happened that day. And as they began walking home, Darla said that was the best day ever, as her eyes shined with excitement. And Dean nodded. Okay, we have to come back tomorrow. And just as they were about to step foot off the playground and continue onto the sidewalk, they heard a low, angry-sounding growl coming from the playground. Spinning around, they saw the old, rusty play structure in the far corner of the playground, and it was starting to move. And unlike the friendly, colorful equipment they had been playing with all day, this structure looked very angry. Its metal was twisted and sharp, with its paint peeling. The old structure's swings swayed back and forth, but they didn't look nearly as fun and inviting as the nicer playground structure. This playground didn't want to play. It was up to no good, with its chains rattling like eerie wind chimes. Dean and Darla huddled together as the joy they had felt earlier that day was replaced with fear. And slowly, the poles of the rusty old structure reached out towards Dean and Darla, and before they could move, the structure's cold metal hands wrapped around their waists, lifting them off the ground. Dean and Darla could only hold on to each other and wonder what this mean playground structure was going to do next. But that's a story for another day.